do you want to kick off, maybe start recording and provide an introduction, and then we'll go from there?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Toluwani Akahome, and I'm the founder and convener of HerGenuityAfrika, which we like to say is Ireland's first business and entrepreneurs network dedicated to the African woman. So it is my pleasure. I'm absolutely delighted to see you this afternoon or joining us for this Launch and Learn session where we have LinkedIn's Laura Kidd and we have South Africa's Dr. Miranda Moluto here with us this afternoon to do a Launch and Learn. And I'm really excited because it's an opportunity for us to learn new things and hopefully to courageously and confidently implement these learnings into our businesses and or our careers. Many of us here are entrepreneurs, and some of us are entrepreneurs and also work in the corporate world. So it's going to be quite good learning for us both ways. So we'll see how it goes this afternoon. So just before I introduce our first speaker, just a couple of housekeeping. Please put yourselves on mute while we have our speaker speaking. And of course, there'll be a question and answer session after each speaker. So Laura is going to go first. I'm going to introduce her shortly. And then we have a question and answer session. Of course, you have the opportunity to step into the chat room or the question and answer room and put in, your question room, put in your questions there. And we'll definitely get to them at some stage before the end of the meeting. Of course, we have a session, as I said, for that. So please put your questions there or do your chats in the chat room and we'll read them at the appropriate times. Also, if for any reason you get knocked out, you know how technology can be, please come straight back in through the link that you got, you came in with. So the link is still active all through today. So that will serve you well. Also, if for any reason you have a comment at some stage, or you have something that you want that's quickly coming to your mind, I said, please put that into the chat as well so that we can get through this quickly. Laura is going to speak until about 1:15, and then we'll bring in Miranda. So we're ready to kick off. And I am extremely delighted to have Laura Kidd here. Laura Kidd has worked extensively across cultures in Asia, in Middle East, in North Africa, North America, and on Ireland. And this has given her extensive knowledge and exposure to different kinds of markets, including the African markets. She, of course, works with LinkedIn, and she's a self-driven, high energy and high impact professional. This afternoon, as I said in different marketing communications to you, she'll be talking to us about how to take our businesses and or our careers to the next level using LinkedIn. So without any further ado, I'm delighted to ask Laura to just take her position to knock us out.
Great. Thank you for such an incredible introduction. It's great to be here with all of you today, and I'm delighted to be speaking with you around LinkedIn and how you can use it for your own pushing yourself forward for your own professional career in terms of your own personal brand, and also for your own organizations, startups that you have that you are launching into the world, and to ensure that you're putting your best foot forward. As Toluwani had mentioned, I have had the fortunate, been very fortunate in my career to have worked right across the world, but now my focus is on Africa. So I do, pre-COVID, I would have been on the road every 6 weeks, traveling around predominantly South Africa, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. I've been very lucky to visit these places. And it's great through this network to have been introduced to Toluwani and to have heard of some of the incredible things that you're doing in Ireland. And I've heard great stories from Toluwani of how you plan on bringing your own initiatives and expanding them beyond Ireland and back into across Africa again. So without further ado, over the next first, what we're going to kickstart into is a presentation on how you can use LinkedIn.com as a platform to elevate your own personal brand, and then we'll move into how LinkedIn can be used for your company for it to excel in the marketplace. As Tulawani had said, if there was any questions, it'd be really helpful if you could make a note of them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of each section. Okay, I'm working off one screen here, so I won't be able to see the chat box. So Tulawani, I will rely on you to be able to share that with me for this point. If you could just keep an eye on those questions coming in, that would be terrific.
Perfect.
So Tulawani, can you confirm that you can see my my screen in front of you here to say your profile, your story?
No, I can't see your screen at the moment. So
it'll just start loading. It should just take a second.
Oh yes, now I can see.
Is that up?
Yeah.
Super. Okay, we're off to a good start. Okay, so LinkedIn as a platform hosts profiles of over 700 million people around the world. It's a way to take command of your own story and how people view you in a professional manner throughout the world. And as we had touched on earlier, oftentimes who you are is going to be interchangeable with who your company and the profile of your company is. So being mindful of how you are professionally viewed is very important, as that is going to trickle into how you who you are in terms of how you get funding for companies, etc. And the first thing to do when creating your LinkedIn profile is to add a photo. And being mindful of the fact that LinkedIn is a professional platform. For many of the sessions that I've done and for many profiles that I've come across online, oftentimes it can be misconstrued for another social media platform similar to Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where people may have casual photos of themselves with other friends in their photos, maybe holding a drink at a bar in one of these photos. They're probably best reserved for platforms like Facebook or Instagram. So what we would ask is for a professional photo that it will be very clear, and be mindful of the fact that when we connect with people on LinkedIn, you're connecting with people that you may have that are within your network. Like, who are your network? Your network is everybody you know. The discussion is just being elevated and it's reserved for professional topics. You're probably not going to be discussing what your favorite bar is on the LinkedIn platform, but you may be discussing what are the top 10 trends in new business startups, or what are the top 10 tips on getting funding or first round funding for your startup. Who you're connecting with can be your family, can be schoolmates from when you went to school, when you went to college. But for me, when I went to college was quite some time ago. So I would imagine that my face may have changed just slightly in the past 15, 20 years. But I want to give those people the best chance of being able to recognize me as possible. So having a clear photo is really important as a first step. Do note that there's also filters that you can apply. For me, I've used some of those to get rid of some of my the wrinkles around the eyes, etc. But ensuring that you're recognizable to people is just the most important thing on the platform. And we know that people who have a great photo, have a photo on their on the portal, are 9 times more likely to get connection requests. They get 21 times more profile views, and they get 36 times more messages. So first step, add a photo. Next step is to add your industry. So are you in computer software? Are you in the startup scene? We know that we find this important because we know that's how people use the platform to search for others. So if you have an investor, an angel investor, or maybe you're running a not-for-profit and you have a company that's looking for people to donate to, ensure that you're in the right industry so that when people are searching for you, that you can be found. A lot of people have struggled with that issue of, I'm not getting enough messages, not getting the emails that other people are getting. That's because you're not making yourself visible enough to be found. Members with industry information get 9 times more profile views. And we know, as I said, that people search by industry. Over 300,000 people search by industry on LinkedIn every week. So it's a simple tip, but something that should be done immediately. Drafting a compelling summary. This would be typically what we would have spoken about our elevator pitch before. So when you're in an elevator speaking to somebody and somebody asks, what do you do? What are the 6 lines that you want to say to them in the time it takes you to get from the 1st floor to the 7th floor in the elevator, to make it clear and succinct that when they walk out of the elevator, they know who I am, they know what I do, and they know what's important to me right now. So keep it short and succinct. Ensure that you are putting your best foot forward, but within that, there is some alluding to ask. So what is your ask within that? Or what is that area that you're focusing on that moment? So it could be centered or focused around obtaining funding or whatever it might be. Put in your ask. I think this is a great place to put it. But be sure to keep it succinct. When people are drafting a summary, it can be challenging to come up and speak with the speak about your accomplishments and who you are. My best advice here is to look at somebody who's doing something similar to what you're doing, or doing something that you aspire to do, and look at what their summary is. Now look at maybe 6 or 7 of these, maybe take some tips and tricks of what they have done and craft it into being your own. It's very hard to get the first sentence out there, but when you have maybe 9 or 10 different sentences to edit from, you can start to shape your own story. One thing to be mindful of, and something I see all the time, is the switching between the 3rd person and the 1st person. So make that decision as, are you going to talk about myself? Am I going to say, Laura is a great sales leader and Laura is very passionate, but do not speak and say, Laura is a great sales leader and I'm very passionate. It's a silly error. And that would be I used to be a teacher in a past life, so that would be the grammar in me coming out. The second area to focus on is your work experience. Is the work experience that you put onto your LinkedIn profile, is it relevant? So oftentimes we need to look back, and like, we've all had lengthy careers, and sometimes the work experience that you might have had when you were 15 years of age was important then, but is it important now? Now, it may not be important now because maybe time has elapsed, but maybe it's important if you're actually moving into a different line of work. So if you are taking a career break and now looking at going into, or looking to do a side hustle, and you have your own company, perhaps when you were 15, you worked with an entrepreneur, then it's relevant experience to include. So ensuring what is relevant is important, and what to include is important. Because oftentimes when people look at a LinkedIn profile, it's a natural, innate quality that we would have we like to pigeonhole people and put people into, oh, they've got like a huge background in software engineering, they're a software engineer, but that's not reflective of who they want to be. So be critical of your own LinkedIn profile and view it through the lens of somebody else. Maybe even ask a friend or a colleague or someone you don't know to look at your LinkedIn profile and say, what do you think from seeing that profile? Where do you think I'm going? What do you think I'm looking for? Where do you think I would need help? You know, and that may give you an indication of things that you're doing right and things that you are doing wrong. So we know that when we have detailed work experience, that we're more likely to get those connection requests. The reason being is that when you say that you're from ABC Sales Technologies, when you attach yourself to ABC, you will get other people that work with ABC will be informed that, oh, Tuluwani has joined LinkedIn and she also says she worked with ABC like you do. Would you like to add them as a friend? So it creates and it expands that network to other people that you may have worked with in the past. So that is why detailing your work experience and aligning it to companies that you worked with in the past is important. Adding examples of your work is a great way to allow people to envisage what it would look like to work with you in the future. If you have any examples of giving a pitch of your product, include that video. If you have any presentations on your product, include it too. This gives people a more appealing representation of who you are, and as I said, allows them to envisage what it would look like to continue working with you. So you're pretty much nearly, by doing and engaging in this type of activity, you're practically doing an interview online, because you're allowing the person who's looking at your profile to really see who you are. But you're also taking command of what that narrative looks like. So you decide what foot forward you're going to put, and you can decide naturally that it's going to be your best foot forward. So you're going to choose your best ever pitch that you've ever done. That's what you're going to include. If you haven't done that's been pre-recorded, there's no harm in recording one now. By launching something on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, you can actually record yourself, or just on your laptop or on your phone, record yourself giving a note or a presentation on what your product is or your service is that you're moving into. Adding voluntary experience, always a great way for people to understand what are the things you care about or what impact you want to have on the world. Always strongly endorse that you do rest on this kind of experience. Adding skills and getting endorsed by others. This section is really interesting, and it's a good place to start is now. We know that when people are searching for these skill sets and endorsement sets, that they're more likely to be found. Start sooner rather than later, because naturally somebody who has had a profile on LinkedIn for over 10 years would have much more skills and endorsements than somebody starting today. As they say, when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When is the second best time to plant a tree? Today. So if you aren't already doing this, start today. Requesting a recommendation, by far for me, is the most valuable thing that you can do on LinkedIn. This allows you to build your credibility and validate your skills, but it's also an opportunity for you to give back to others. I liken giving a recommendation to somebody else like giving somebody a thank you card that stays with them forever. You don't know, in the case of Kathy, for example, she's a VP of event marketing. You don't know if in 3 months' time she may be out of a job. You don't know if she's currently looking for work. If there is somebody that you've worked with, somebody you are fond with, that you've enjoyed working with, or who's done business with you throughout your career to date, even sit down today and think about who those people are, who's had an impact on you, maybe has been a great mentor. A great way to give back to them is to give them a recommendation. Oftentimes, people who we give recommendations to will return the favor and give you a recommendation. But it's a really nice way to show gratitude for other people throughout your career and in the world of work. It also allows people to trust in what you are saying about yourself. Ultimately, the LinkedIn profile is something that you create. Now, naturally, there is an element of self-surveillance, because when you put something out into the world, like a LinkedIn profile, we know that it's being viewed by friends and family who will know the truth in what you're saying. So we tend to be much more truthful on a LinkedIn profile than we would be on a CV. But what further attests to that truthfulness is by somebody giving you a recommendation on top of what you've already said about yourself. Now, the platform itself can be used as well for knowledge and insights. And that's the next section that we're going into. But I'd like to just pause here. Tulawani, is there any questions or comments that have been raised in the chat box that I can address at the moment?
Nothing yet. Nothing's come through yet.
That's perfect.
If anybody that has a question, you can certainly put it in the chat box there.
No problem. I'll keep going.
Yeah, thank you.
So the platform itself can be used as a way of gaining knowledge and insights. So for your particular businesses, your particular career, this is how you use the platform to actually gain knowledge, stay ahead of trends, maybe find out where the next job is coming from, which businesses are booming, which trends to look out for in terms of product development, service development also. So first way we can start is by following companies that are of interest to you. Perhaps they're competitors to what you're currently building, and to stay on top of what they are doing. When we look at any kind of media releases, media launches, product launches, they will typically, the news is going to be published by them first before it even hits the paper. So this type of information you are going to get first and foremost through LinkedIn. If there are influencers you follow, particular entrepreneurs that you follow in particular across Africa, for example, this will be a good place to, this can be a good place to follow what they're following. So keeping ahead of their trends, what are they seeing? What kind of insight do they have to the world that you would like to also see? So following these influencers is really important. You can search by industry, by area, to find something that is relevant to you. And as you go through the experience of using LinkedIn, please note that you can modify and customize your feed to hide certain posts, unfollow people, and particularly on the reporting function. If you find anything offensive on the platform, please be sure to report the posts. And we do rely on our customer base to do this. We have a team that curate the LinkedIn platform, but we curate it based on what's been reported as being offensive. So please assist us and help us to keep the platform clean and as good as it is today by reporting anything that you find offensive on the platform. But most importantly, I believe you'll be using this function for maybe hiding posts. Maybe there's some people that you followed as an influencer, and then you find that they're clogging up your feed by posting every half hour. You may want to hide the posts or unfollow those people as a result. For when it comes to endorsing and publishing your content on the platform, now this goes for the personal profile build and the company profile build. So on the platform, you can create a personal profile. So Tulawani may have a personal profile on our platform, but also she may have a company profile for HerGenuity on the platform. So in both instances, you may have a different narrative or a different voice, but they're quite similar in the way they are built. So this is for people both that are career focused and for entrepreneurs. So if you are career focused, building your thought leadership and talking about the subjects that matter about you is really important on the platform. It's what we call content marketing. You're not putting on the platform, I'm great. You're not putting this up on the platform, I'm great for these 5 reasons. But what you are doing instead is you are maybe writing an article on, maybe if you're a software engineer, you're writing an article on this topic on the platform. And as a result, people will deduce that you are intelligent and informed on this subject matter, etc. The same from a company standpoint. When we build thought leadership on a particular area, so if you are running a not-for-profit, you may decide to produce an article or share content that's relevant to that industry or helpful to people that are also in that industry. And as a result, people will step away thinking, well, you know, that organization clearly is very competent in X, Y, and Z because they are speaking about it and other people are learning from it. So it's the impression people get from you from how you speak and how you put yourself forward on the platform. Now, the difference between on the platform, you have the opportunity to share updates or to publish your own posts. Sharing updates is quicker, easier. It's something you can do just like that. It's very quick and easy. You can share something that maybe another company has shared or an influencer has shared. Whereas publishing tends to be a bit more extensive. For you, it's a deeper dive into a particular topic, and it does require that little bit more of work. So when we are sharing an update, it looks as though you would click on the sharing options in your LinkedIn page, and you can share a status update or an image, a video, anything along these lines. The best practices for sharing updates is to be authentic in what you're sharing, post frequently, engage in a conversation of other people, and include rich media to increase engagement. So photos, presentations, anything like this tends to capture the audience much more. And also to engage in other people's content so that when you actually publish an article, that there is reciprocity and people can comment on your shared updates. When you publish on LinkedIn, this is something that stays more permanently on your LinkedIn profile. It becomes a part of your profile. It reaches a larger network on the platform. But on top of that, you can also track and trace who has been looking at your content and follow up with those individuals. In the same way as sharing an update, you start on your homepage, and instead of starting a post, you write an article. The best practices for publishing content: create a good headline that captures attention, create a photo, be authentic in your own voice, think about your audience and what you want them to take away from what you've written, and be mindful of the length of the article. Keep it short, succinct, and to the point, as we know that nowadays people are less engaged than ever they were before and have a shorter attention spans than they've ever had before on the platform. As I've mentioned, with the articles, you can actually track your progress. So you can see who is engaging with this, and see if it's aligned to what your goals are. Like, what are your goals in putting out this information? Are the right people looking at it? Are the people from the right area looking at it, etc. So I'll pause here for any questions, because the next section of the demonstration is going to be more live, where we look at the resources on the platform that you can avail of. Are there any questions, Chuluwani, or maybe somebody would like to ask a question live?
Okay, right at this moment, there are no questions. Would anybody like to ask a question? I have a question, Laura.
Yeah, please.
I wonder, okay, there's somebody waiting room, 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So, for sometimes you get a notification from LinkedIn that somebody has viewed your profile. And well, I understand why they would view your profile. What are the implications of that, really?
So typically, when people are looking at your profile, for me, it depends on the point of your career that you engage with that kind of that viewership. If it's somebody that if you find that somebody from an angel investment fund is looking at your profile, I would, and if you see who that person is, so say if it's Adam Smith, I would respond back to Adam and say, "Hi Adam, I noticed that you've taken a look at my profile. I have a company called Doors and Floors. Is that something that you would like to learn more about, or whatever?" It's an opportunity for you to pique interest. The same in terms of using the platform. I would always use the platform to seek out people that you want to invest in your company. Seek out mentors that you would like to lean on during particular times, and ask them. Now is the best time to be asking people for a remote coffee. It's not, if somebody asks me for a remote coffee these days, I will take it up in a heartbeat, because it doesn't mean you have to actually go and physically meet somebody. I can meet somebody and have a call with somebody for 15-20 minutes, on my own coffee break, and asking them for that, like a simple ask. Hey, I see that you set up a business, a software company, or a service company, and I was thinking about doing the same in Ireland. I see you're also from Tullamore. Is there a way that you could talk to me for 20 minutes so I could hear about your experience? And because I have a few questions on this topic. This is a great soft introduction to meeting somebody, and then based on that phone call, you guys may hit it off, you may not, they may step up as a mentor, they may have some great tips and tricks for you. But that's how we really use LinkedIn to leverage who we are and how to leverage and expand our company. Does that answer your question there?
That does answer my question. Thank you very much. Miranda Malota.
Yeah, Miranda, to you.
Yeah. Miranda, you are...
Oh, you're on mute, Miranda. Go ahead there.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm struggling to find the unmute button. Thank you, Laura, for this. Interesting about how you present yourself on LinkedIn. Just talk a little about when you've had 3 or 4 things that you have done in your life, or when you have got 3 income things or income streams or careers that you are pursuing. How would you say you present that?
Oh, so there's a few different career paths that you're exploring, is it?
Yeah, I think.
So when you are searching, like the search function for, I would present and say okay, I try and find for you, Miranda, if it's a career that you're looking for, a different, like an income stream that you're looking at, I would be sure to maybe find a thread that connects the three of them. So if it's you could say that, like, oh, like, relationships are really important to me, and relationships are really important in this industry, and this industry. Although they're all the same, although they seem very different, relationship is a core skill that connects them all, and this is one of my strengths. So I give a reasoning as to why you are looking at three completely different income streams, because that can throw people sometimes. Also, when you're going into the search function for jobs or on the platform, you can actually search by multiple different income streams. So it would mean that I think it's like every few days you get nudges from LinkedIn as a platform when you have a search function up there, that they will suggest jobs that have open jobs available to you. So the platform does allow you to do that, so you can use it for looking for multiple different jobs. Does that answer your question, Miranda, or do you have a follow-up question to that?
I think that makes sense to me. I've always wondered how or when to use LinkedIn, or should I leave the other fields out? That answers my question. I think it's the best way to do. When there's a thread, to thread them together. When there isn't, maybe it's better to have another LinkedIn profile, I guess.
Yeah, I would always say do your best to have one profile. It can get really complicated having two profiles. Especially, I would always say do your very best to have one profile. It can get really complicated and messy having two, especially as you build your network going forward, because we can't consolidate profiles in the future. We have to delete one. So if you've got half of your connections on one, it can be just a bit tricky. So I'm going to switch it up now and share my live screen to you to show you my profile and how you can use it as a small organization. So Luwani, do keep an eye on the questions coming through here. For any questions that are coming through, inclusive of Miranda's great question there, to Luwani, I'd like you to select the best question that we get on this session over the remaining time, because I do have a LinkedIn Learning Premium license that I can allocate to one person, and that gives 6 months of premium access to the platform, but also opens up LinkedIn Learning, which is an online learning platform with over 15,000 courses that allows you to educate yourself online and do a number of certificates. So I'll continue on to Luwani, but do keep it, and I'll put the pressure on you to select a winner in terms of the best question asked. Okay,
that's fine.
Okay, so sharing my screen again. I might just go for my main screen here. You let me know when you can see my main screen. It's not showing up just yet, is it?
Yes.
Should be.
Now we have it.
Okay, great. Okay, so look, for all of you, I'm just going to go into my own profile. Like, naturally, we are supposed to set best in practice examples on our own profiles. So just looking at my own profile, you'll see here that the aim is always to get over 500 connections. Try and get that done as much as possible. You can see that I've set my profile to being available, of open to work. I always want to see what jobs are out there in the market. I think that's really important. You can also showcase services you offer, and your business can be found in search. So that's ways in which you can immediately start improving and advertising your own business. You can see how good my profile is. It gets a ranking here, and you can see my about section if you want to take a look at this. Featured articles, so you can see here of this is down in Pretoria actually, for an event we hosted in March. Something interesting to be able to see is, you know, your dashboard of people, how many people have viewed your profile, who's been viewing your posts, how often you appear in searches, different activities on the platform, the experience I've listed, examples of my experience, scrolling down to the different education levels I have. For any courses that you've done online, there's the option to populate them to your profile to show what skills you have, voluntary experience, and then of course the recommendations that I touted about earlier. But something I want to focus on for now is how you use the platform for small businesses. So there's a link that I will post into the group hereafter, is welcome to LinkedIn for small businesses, places where you can grow, a place to grow your business on LinkedIn. So there's a number of resources on the platform here of ways in which you can use the platform to elevate your business. So you can see just through scrolling through here, the different products that we have. So if we look at some of the resources for small businesses, for example, this will link you through to different pages that you can follow. So big trends in our small business newsletter. You can connect with our small and medium businesses news editor. We have a number of LinkedIn virtual events and pages that you can follow geared towards supporting small businesses. We have a number of free LinkedIn learning courses for small businesses. For all of you that don't win out on today's prize, you can listen to our latest small business live stream. We have tips and tricks, open for business checklist, a business owner's guide to LinkedIn, small business guide to LinkedIn pages. So this is really about ensuring that your business profile is up to date. So more information on how you ensure that your profile is up to date, how you make the right connections before attending, and especially with these remote events, seeing and acting upon who's viewed your profile. So pointing towards Tuluwane's question there, how you identify and segment your target market. And as I mentioned here, some of the courses around LinkedIn as well, on LinkedIn Learning. So if I just click into here, so maybe LinkedIn virtual events and pages that we have on the platform, you can see here another link to events that you can join, but also events that you can host yourself on the platform as well to encourage and attract the right people. So how do you host your own event? How do you get mileage out of the event? How do you measure that return on the investment to show the return on the effort that goes into creating those events? How you market those events on the platform, etc. There's a lot of information within that, but I really want to leave. I know we've gone over time now. I want to leave this time for questions and discussion here. I'm going to drop the link that that we just discussed into the chat, so you all have it. Hopefully, I think I might have to stop sharing to show you that. Yeah. I'll drop it now into the chat so that you can all see it. So this is how you grow your own business. And I'll pause there now for any questions that you might have in terms of how you use the platform for your own business.
Okay, we have a question here. We have a question here, Laura, from Ibukoluwa Ebo. She is from Nigeria. And she's saying, can one create a business profile without having a personal profile?
No, one needs to have a personal profile to do so. So we need to be able to attach it to somebody that is moderating it. Is that a challenge for you to do? Sometimes if people do not want to make that public, you can also always create a dummy profile. So a dummy profile, and we have so many of them on the platform, are people that are close to being anonymous. You know, where the email account is your own. Yes, you're traceable, but it could be, you know, HG at hotmail.com, and where you do not have a profile photo, etc. But as I kind of said from the outset, you know, the business profile of who you are is going to be synonymous with the business. And is there any particular reason? Maybe can I dig a bit deeper there to find out why you would maybe not want to have a personal profile?
Ibukun, you can unmute yourself to speak. That's fine if you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you for the opportunity. Hello. I don't have any particular reason for not wanting to have a personal profile. I'm just asking. And thank you for the link, because before now, I've actually tried to onboard on LinkedIn and set up a profile and a business profile. But I was not sure of how to go about it. But now that you have just sent this link, I'll take my time to read through and adopt. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. We can go ahead, Laura, if anybody.
Thank you. And then I suppose if there are any others in the call who are maybe endeavoring with not-for-profit initiatives, I would also encourage you to take a look at this link here. So I'll just share this briefly just so that you can see the screen on that, and you can see that website. So this is are you seeing my screen now? Has it gone live?
Yeah, you can see your screen, yes.
Yeah. So it says how to use LinkedIn for not-for-profits. So how you are able to use the platform to hire people, maybe market your business, how to use it from fundraising in particular. I think that's also relevant as well too for fundraising for small organizations. So maybe take a look at that also. And naturally we have some open resources for not-for-profits in terms of learning and development as well. All right. So look, that concludes. I don't want to take any further time from the next speaker. It does conclude my presentation for today. Toluwani, can I ask, is there somebody that you would nominate for best question that we could award the LinkedIn Premium license to?
Maybe you leave that with me.
Okay, absolutely. If you could just pass me the full name of the person and a link to their LinkedIn profile, I'll be able to send them and allocate them one of those licenses. All right?
Perfect. That's great. Thank you very much, Laura.
Not at all. Thank you very much for allowing me to attend. It's been an incredible opportunity. The very best of luck to everybody here. I'm wishing you all the best of success with your future businesses going forward. I know they're going to be an absolute hit. Okay? Thank you so much.
Speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so Miranda is saying, so can I host an event and record the session for later use? Is that question for Laura? Miranda?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Toluwani, she mentioned something about you can host an event right in LinkedIn because you are wanting the right people to be seeing your events. So that session, am I able to get a link and save the link for later use?
Yes, it definitely can. Once you go to that business, that profile, that link she sent us, you can definitely find the link there and explore that. If you have any further questions, we'll definitely get in touch with Laura for you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have another message here. I wonder why we didn't. Okay, just Miranda saying thank you. So I was hoping that we'd get all those questions out there for Laura while she was here, but it's all good because we have access to Laura anytime she is one of those supporting HerGenuityAfrika. So it's great to have her. So thank you very much for everyone that is still in the room. We had quite a number of people register, and I'm surprised we have just a few people in the room, but it's fine because we are live on Facebook. So you can send a message to your friends while you are here and let them join us. We're live on Facebook, HerGenuityAfrika, live on Facebook. And of course, I'm recording this as well. And that means that we'll be able to also view it post-event on YouTube. And I shall send that link to us on the WhatsApp platform for those who are part of the HGA community on WhatsApp. So very happy to move on to the next speaker, Miranda Moloto. Miranda, it's great to have you. I'm sure you're still there.
I am totally here. I'm looking for my video.
I'm happy for that totally that you said. That totally lets me know that you really prepared for us this afternoon. So Miranda, you are an entrepreneur, but you're also in the healthcare sector. You're actually a medical doctor, aren't you?
I am indeed.
Fantastic.
For
your sins. I remember the last time I spoke to you, you were so busy And it was really good to know that, you know, you were making such impact there in South Africa, and that you're also an entrepreneur with such a busy practice. You're still an entrepreneur. You're dealing in real estate, property investment, and you're also mentoring those who are interested in stepping into that space of real estate or into properties in Africa. So Miranda, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the HGA Lunch and Learn, formally, even though you've been here, but to formally welcome you as one of our speakers. So jump on it. Thank you.
Okay. Hi there. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is such an incredible time to be living in and to connect with all of you from everywhere where you are sitting. Thanks for joining us. I am indeed a medical doctor, and incidentally, this morning, that's what I did. I worked at one of the biggest hospitals in the Southern Hemisphere. I take care of the caregivers. So I work at a wellness clinic that takes care of doctors and nurses in a hospital called Baragwanath Krisani Hospital. It's a huge, huge hospital in Johannesburg. So when Toluwani asked me to speak at this event, I thought this is a confusing time, a time of transition for all of us. Maybe let me speak about what I do, but let me speak about my transition and what puts me together with real estate. And then let me present to you as well the investment opportunity in property. So that's what my talk is going to be about. 3 things: where I'm at, where I'm transitioning to, and the business opportunity for all of us sitting in this room, and maybe someone else that may be interested in entering this arena. I'm going to start sharing my screen so that it directs my talk. Otherwise, I can go all over the place with you. Let me start from the beginning. Okay. So, there we go.
Yeah, it's starting to share.
There we go. Can you see my screen then?
You can.
I am Dr. Miranda Moloto. I'm a medical doctor who, for many, many years, haven't practiced as a clinical medical doctor. I've always been in public health and in occupational medicine and in clinical medicine. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my story of being a doctor, and then I'm going to tell you about my transitioning and what I do today. This is the medical school that I went to, one of the medical schools that used to be called the only Black medical school, actually, in my time. So I graduated, 27 years ago at medical school, and I was one of those wonderful kids, you know, goody two-shoes. I would get my A's, and I entered medical school. It was a natural second thing to do. But while I was at medical school, the truth is, I already knew that I don't want to work in the wards, and I do not want to be in the hospital. If I use my medical degree, I would want to use it elsewhere in another format. At the time, didn't know any better, because when you became a doctor in our communities, you became the thing, right? The main thing. And I've always been the dissatisfied doctor, if you want to call me that. And so I went on to do, you know, in high school, I was the prefect. I was really your perfect girl, the one that gets the A's and whatever. And when I graduated, I was sure that I would stay in the medical fraternity, and I would do I specialized just like everyone else does. But I ended up working in occupational medicine, which means I worked in industries, making sure that the workers of manufacturing plants are healthy and they stay healthy. I have worked in digital health, and I've worked in HIV management for many, many governments in Africa. I've been to almost 16 countries in Africa, working with the governments to set up their HIV management programs for the countries. But what do I do in the meantime? I've always been a dissatisfied doctor. I wanted to be doing something else. So at any one time, I would be doing one thing and the other. I would be employed, but reading something else. I was reading, I would be doing medicine, but I would also be employed on digital platforms where I would consult patients digitally. There is a science called telemedicine, and we would do teleconsultings by telephone. I still do that, and I work on calls, and I work while I am at home. And what that telemedicine has done is it has changed the way we look at things, and COVID-19 has helped all of us to actually recognize telemedicine as a very, very important part of medicine. What I did during the lockdown, the very hard lockdown in South Africa, is that we helped the country to test over 253,000 people all over the country. While I was sitting at home, I could consult people on the telephone and direct them to the DISCAM testing mobile stations, and people who had COVID or who had been affected by COVID, them and their families could be directed. So as you can see, I think also I've been very shy and hiding myself away from actually acknowledging that I can be many things. For many, many years, I've always known that being a clinical medicine doctor and sitting behind a desk and wearing a white coat is not something that totally attracts me. But I could never have told anyone that. So today I know that I am an infinite being. I can be anything that I want, and I can be many things as well. And I can transition, or I can move from one position to the other position and still do that and keep myself joyfully, happily in business. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. And the reason being, when you become a medical doctor, it is such a sacred and a noble career, isn't it? The whole nation thinks you are the greatest thing that ever God created. And half of us are unhappy in that career. And I had to acknowledge myself, to acknowledge it to myself first, and then acknowledge it to the world, and acknowledge it by the actions that I took in doing the stuff that I did. But the second biggest thing that I found most dissatisfying was that financially, the more I learned and the more I got qualified in one thing or the other, the harder I worked. And that did not translate into financial independence or financial riches. And then when I turned 40, suddenly I became a mom. And what that did was that I knew now that working 12 hours per day was just not working. I wanted to be home with my child. The second thing is I love travel. How could I travel when you have got this huge responsibility of a big corporate job? You know, the bigger the corporate job, the bigger the responsibility and the less time I spent at home. The third and last thing was that my total curiosity about how do other people actually become whatever they become, and they can get the financial success that they have. Because on paper and to the rest of the world, we look like we're doing well as medical doctors, most of us. We sound like we're doing well. And because when we walk into the bank, we can get higher credit than most people who are in other careers, that keeps us indebted to our banks and to whoever else. But you never really get financially independent. You cannot control your own time. You cannot control how you are going to practice this medicine that you're doing. And I find that most of us professionals, I find that my lawyer friends and attorney friends, they also complain about the same thing. And it's very hard to transition out of that career, because you've got a lifestyle to keep, and you've got the big debt, of course, to service. And there's an expectation, of course, that other people have of you, and you feel like you are responsible to the world. Thankfully, thankfully. I've been doing a lot of work and personal work in this regard. And because of the financial constraints, and I felt, I need to earn some passive income. That is how I ended up in real estate, actually. Because as I read, and the more I read about the basis of wealth creation is actually owning real estate assets. And I got curious about how I'm going to do that and how I'm going to make sure that whatever money that I work with in my medical career is going to finance my real estate journey. And that's how I started in real estate. Not only did I do that, I found myself a mentor to walk the path with me. And while I was doing that, I had a financial coach who actually was teaching about, how to, or she would get guests around to come and talk to us about how people get rich on the stock market, how you invest on the stock market, buying exchange traded funds. That was great. And then she invited someone else who spoke about real estate and introduced us to a podcast, which is based in the US, Bigger Pockets. And while I looked around and I thought, well, there has to be a Bigger Pockets, a podcast in South Africa that informs us about our real estate market in South Africa. Couldn't find any. This is how me and my co-host, who is my financial coach as well, started the Property Magicians podcast. So my big love and the central to my life now also is real estate podcasting. And on our podcast, what do? We teach, we invite guests that talk about their financial journeys and particularly their property journeys and their property investment journeys. We also invite different experts in their field that help people with their property investment journey. It could be funders, it could be developers, it could be people who have adopted the flipping strategy where you buy and fix houses and then sell them off. We have invited various people, real estate agents. We have invited various real estate investors, because different people have adopted the different strategies of property investment. And in real estate, I'm told that there are about 14 or 15 strategies of real estate investment. Okay, what is mine? Mine is I buy and let. I buy and rent out the properties. And that's because I need the cash flow from the properties that I buy for day-to-day living. I still have my pension to build up. I still have school fees to pay for my 11-year-old daughter, and I still have a lifestyle to carry on. So that's what I do as a real estate investor. But on the podcast, as I said, we have concentrated on making sure that our people, necessarily it is directed at brown people, because for some odd reason, real estate and real estate wealth has been hidden to most of us, or we've never really maximized on the land that we inherit from our ancestors. Or some of us, we inherit and sell it off, and we've never seen it as real riches. And that is the reason why this podcast exists. And we are very clear about how we direct and how we invite our guests. Vangile and I, my co-host, we talk about it all the time. We even did a podcast about the fact that most African women who have done well and or who are even beginning in their real estate journeys, they will start a journey, they will own 3 or 4 properties and refuse to come on the podcast. Something about an African woman wanting to be invisible when they are building wealth, number one, when they are doing great things that other people could be learning from, which is a real pity for me, because I believe representation is such a huge thing. I learn better when I'm listening to someone that looks like me, that is a brown female, that is, and then I learn from the rest of the world. I do learn from everyone else, but I can tell you now something that speaks to me. When Toluwani speaks, I will listen to her much more. I will go and look at her various profiles and I will read her blog posts or whatever. So our podcast is attracting and wanting to attract more women of African descent who are succeeding in their various real estate investment journeys in the various countries that they live in. And because of the difficulties and the challenges of starting in real estate, this led me to become a coach because, you know, if you want to think up of any challenge one can have in real estate, have I lost money? I have. Have I made money? I have. Have I had difficulty in raising money for real estate? Indeed, I have. Have I had terrible real estate coaches? I've had, and I've had really good ones as well. So this is an incredible journey. The reason why I've decided to be a real estate coach is that for newbie investors, you know, we need to put people at ease about real estate is indeed the way to wealth creation. It is the basis of most people that have got money. 70% of their assets sit in real estate in one form or the other. And just the little things or obstacles that prevent investor, my commitment